Dante wrote, "The path to paradise begins in hell." Join Deacon Don Prendergast and David Fortin as they discuss the tools men need to build the domestic church and the spiritual weapons to defend it. This is Through the Fire.
Okay, Deacon, we are back. Hey, first part of the show I said how we're kind of like the garage band, but you're actually becoming kind of the rock star of the Catholic world now.
No, I'm not.
Yes, you are, because we had one of our affiliates, reach out to you to actually put together something about adoration.
Yeah, so our friends up in Pennsylvania.
At JMJ Radio.
Yes, JMJ Radio. They asked me to put together a little reflection, a little encouragement for people to get involved with more Eucharistic adoration. And so, so we're gonna record something, just a little encouragement, give my thoughts on what Eucharistic adoration is, why it's important, and the benefits that you can receive spending time with Jesus face to face in the Blessed Sacrament. So I'm looking forward to that. It's gonna be good.
I think it'll be a lot of fun.
Yes, and since we're thanking people, we should also thank our friends over at Christian Kitchens Coffee. They've been knocking it out of the park for us.
I know. They're such great people.
Absolutely. Thank you, Steve.
They did such a great job at putting our coffee label together. And you alluded to our love for bourbon. Who knows what's on the horizons, Deacon?
Yeah, so if there's a bourbon company out there that would like to create a Through the Fire label, give us a call. That would be kind of cool.
That would be cool. Get them started in the morning.
And then we have to develop a new product of Irish coffee. It's a combination of Through the Fire coffee and Through the Fire bourbon.
No, you can't use bourbon for an Irish coffee. No, you got to use
Scotch.
Well, the way we have the the Through the Fire and the Along the Way.
Yep.
Yours could be the bourbon. I'll go with the Irish coffee, there you go. Irish whiskey, and then we could do something.
I love it.
But you know what?
Sounds good.
There's a bourbon cream that I'm dying to try. I think it's a lot like. Look at us go here. It's a lot like Bailey's Irish Cream, but I think it's got but it's got a bourbon flavor to it. So
nice. Yeah. I mean, because essentially, we're simplifying it, but that Irish cream, it really is just a combination. It's other things, but it's a combination of cream and whiskey.
Yeah.
On a basic level.
Have you ever had a coffee with real Bailey's Irish Cream?
Oh yeah.
It's delicious, isn't it?
Yeah, you don't need sugar. You clearly don't need any milk or half and half or anything like that. It's just a shot of Irish cream right into a cup of Along the Way.
Yeah.
And you're all set.
There you go.
You're ready for the St. Patrick's Parade in New York City.
Sure. Or Boston.
Or Boston.
Or wherever you celebrate green beer. Let's stop the
daydreaming. We have 1 minute left. Let's
stop the daydreaming now. Let's go.
All right. So we're talking about
I am not paying you for this nonsense.
We're storing up bourbon in heaven.
Yeah, there you go.
All right. So we're getting back to being neighborly. And one of the things that I wanted to do is to kind of let's get back to fundamentals. And when I say let's get back to fundamentals, I want to let's go to the scriptures in the letter to the Galatians. In chapter 6, we hear, "Bear one another's burdens, and so you will fulfill the law of Christ. For if anyone thinks he is something when he is nothing, he is deluding himself. Each one must examine his own work, and then he will have reason to boast with regard to himself alone, and not with regard to someone else. For each will bear his own load. Let us not grow tired of doing good. For in due time we shall reap our harvest if we do not give up. So then, while we have the opportunity, let us do good to all, but especially to those who belong to the family of the faith." And I think that's really important for us to understand that. And then we have in 1 Corinthians, "No one should seek his own advantage, but that of his neighbor." Dave, when we take a look at the scripture and we understand what basically that's saying is, listen, Jesus spent his entire public ministry doing good to others, healing the sick, casting out demons, all of this profoundly good work that Jesus was doing, how can we possibly call ourselves Christians if we're not going to make ourselves available to our neighbor in order to do good works for people that are around us every day, all the time? And while we're at it, let me go also to, I've read out of this book once before. It's the writings of Pope Leo the 13th. And the reason why I keep going back to this is if we want to understand Pope Leo the 14th, it's probably, I mean, he said it himself, that his pontificate is going to be heavily influenced by Pope Leo the 13th. So let's go back to one of the writings of Pope Leo the 13th, where he says, and I've read out of this book before, the name of this book is The Practice of Humility, 60 Lessons on the Virtue of Virtues. And so here, lesson 32. When you meet with an opportunity of rendering your neighbor some lowly and menial service, do so with joy and with that humility which you would have were you the servant of all. By this practice, you will lay up in store for yourself treasures of virtue and grace. And so what Pope Leo is teaching us is that even if our neighbor is just saying, hey, can you do me a favor? This has happened to me in my life. Good friend of mine, moving from one place to another, from one house to another. And he's like, you know what? I saw on eBay some backyard furniture. I know you got a pickup truck. Would it be okay if you were to help me go to this person's house and grab a couple of pieces of lawn furniture for my backyard? It's like, yeah, sure. Especially if the option is I'm going to sit my butt on the couch and watch TV, or I'm going to help out somebody who calls upon me in need. The answer is always going to be I'm going to help out somebody that calls upon me in need, because that's exactly what we're being called to do. You know, this is an expression of when Jesus says, I give you a new commandment, love one another. The idea of love one another is not a new commandment, because when Jesus was being tested by the scribes and he was asked the question, Rabbi, what's the greatest of all commandments? He answered, you will love the Lord your God with all your mind, with all your heart, with all your strength. And he says the second is just like it. You will love your neighbor as yourself. So that part of Jesus' I give you a new commandment is not new. It's not new. It's been around for thousands of years. It's in the Old Testament. What Jesus is saying, and I'm going to follow this up again with something from Mother Teresa, and then we can talk more about this. What Jesus is saying is, I give you a new commandment, love one another as I have loved you. As I have loved you. So Jesus is not just saying, I want you to have love for your brothers. He's saying, love others the way I love you. And how does Jesus love us? I mean, he gives everything. He's the king of the universe. Jesus loves us even in our stupidity. He's hanging up there on the cross, and he has every reason to be angry and upset. But is he? No. Instead, what he says is, forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do. I mean, these people just brutalized him. They condemned him to death, made him carry his own torture device, the cross. Can it get any worse? Not to mention the fact, crucifixion, I think everybody who has looked into various forms of execution, crucifixion is like one of the most insanely brutal ways to die, because you actually suffocate on your own body fluids. The whole idea about hanging on the cross and having your feet nailed to the cross, you're hanging, and the only way to breathe when you're up there on that cross is for you to stand up. With your feet nailed to the cross, you have to put pressure and stand up so that your diaphragm has the ability to expand. I mean, the way people die on the cross is suffocation. Their bodies, their lungs fill up with fluids and they drown on their own bodily fluids. And so this is one of the most ridiculously cruel ways of being executed. And he's up there on the cross and he says, forgive them. And think about that. Forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do. Not to mention, given all the opportunities of temptation. Oh, if you are the Son of God, if you are the Christ, come down from that cross and then we'll believe you. You don't think he had the power to do that? He actually told Pilate before the crucifixion that if he wanted to, he could call upon God the Father in heaven and legions of angels would come down and defend him. If he wanted to, he could do that. I mean, certainly the temptation in the desert by the devil. If you are the Son of Man, turn these stones, these rocks, into bread. He could have. If you are the Son of Man, throw yourself off the temple. And you know the angels are going to catch you. You're not even going to stub your toe on the ground. He could have, but it's not the Father's will. It's not the path that he's meant to walk. And while yet we are still sinners, he forgives us and he loves us. Even in our stupidity that we live out every single day, the dumb things that we do, the selfishness, the rudeness that we live by so often, the excuses, and he still loves us. And so we're called to love others. We're called to be forgiving. We're called to make ourselves available, even for the little mundane jobs. Your neighbor is struggling, so you run over and it's like, hey, let me help you with that. Or here's one, and this happens all too often. Do we pay attention to the people that we live around? Do we have elderly people on our street or down the road? Do we check on them? That's an expression of neighborly love. Even if they're jerks, just check on them anyway. Maybe the reason why that they behave like a jerk to you is because people don't talk to them anymore. Nobody's willing to give them time. I think I've mentioned this in the past, and I have a neighbor that I live near that lives on my block. He's a great guy. Retired. Every once in a while, you'll see his big giant camper in front of his house, and he's washing it and getting ready for some trip out to Colorado or something. But when he's not doing that, he's doing yard work and whatnot. And when he's not doing that, I'll see him walking or riding his bike around the neighborhood. And he always stops by and asks questions, how things going? Hey, I saw this. Hey, what you up to? And affectionately, I refer to him as the mayor. You know, the mayor of my cul-de-sac. Great guy. He really is. I'm a little bit goofy, so I affectionately refer to him as the mayor. And I'll even say to him, good morning, Mr. Mayor. I mean, there are others that may not have that same attitude. Do you have somebody on your block? I mean, Dave, we've talked about this. Is there somebody on your block who is, you know, the Karen or the Ken or whatever the name is that we're using nowadays? Well, maybe the person acts that way because others have not been neighborly. And the only thing that's left is to find something to complain about so that they can spark a conversation.
Yeah, we don't know our neighbors anymore.
Yeah.
Like when I was growing up, we knew who the neighbors were. You could borrow a couple of eggs from them. It was, run next door to Mr. Hall's house and see if you can get a couple of eggs or something like that.
Well, what about as kids? As kids, I was afraid of getting in trouble in front of my friends' parents also.
Right.
Because all the parents talk to each other.
Right.
I may not have gotten spanked by any of my friends' parents, but sure enough, they called back to my house and my mom caught wind of something stupid I was doing.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I have the privilege of working, right now I'm working for an organization who supports and works with and mentors and provides homes for at-risk youth. And the organization is called Residing Hope. And they're here in Florida. They were formerly known as the Florida United Methodist Children's Home. They've been around since 1908. Long time. Started off as an orphanage. But this organization, I'm one of the direct care specialists, which basically means I work directly with the kids, mentoring, teaching, correcting, educating, teaching life skills, like some very low-level counseling. But what's really cool, since we're talking about neighbors, what's really cool is that on this property, there's, I don't know, like a dozen cottages. And inside of each cottage, you've got a handful of kids and you got a handful of adult members, staff members. But, each cottage is broken up by gender, by age group, by life experience, so you'll have a cottage that's like all middle school boys. And then you'll have a cottage that's all elementary school age girls. But what is cool, and my cottage is a highly therapeutic cottage that I work in. And one of the things, talking about eggs, I love to cook. And, there's nothing better than a home-cooked meal. And when you've got, a ton of kids on the property, not everybody likes to cook. So, naturally folks lean into, what the main kitchen can provide. But I like to cook. And what's really fun is, yeah, I've been in that situation where I'll call up one of the other cottages and I'll say, do you have any eggs? Do you have any bacon? Do you have any, whatever, green peppers or some cooking oil, garbage bags? I mean, you name it, a roll of toilet paper, whatever it is that we're short on and we're in between our shopping days. You just lean on the resources of the other cottages. And every single time that I've called upon another cottage, if they had the item in their pantry, they absolutely, with gleefulness, they were happy to provide it. And in many instances, they would say to me, hey, we're going for a walk or we're going for a drive. We'll swing by your cottage and we'll drop it off. This way you don't have to step out of your cottage. It's like, fantastic. But Dave, you're absolutely right. That kind of neighborliness, it absolutely was commonplace in the past. Absolutely, it was commonplace.
And you can't blame it on COVID or anything like that because the decline had happened long before.
No, I think it kind of fell by the wayside as more and more we see God falling by the wayside in society. It is absolutely part of the Christian ethos to love one another, to be neighborly. The Good Samaritan story. You've got the Hebrew priest and the Hebrew Levite cross the street to avoid the guy that's dying on the side of the road. Who comes to his aid but the Samaritan, somebody who's a foreigner, somebody who, according to the political times of the day, would be considered the enemy. And the Samaritan was the one that stopped, picked the guy up and brought him to help. So who is my neighbor? My neighbor is everyone around me. Everyone around me is my neighbor, but we don't think of it that way.
Yeah, but that seems like an oversimplification.
But it's not.
I know.
It's not an oversimplification, but you're absolutely right. So let's go back.
There's
go ahead.
Simplicity in my mind. There's a lot of wisdom in simplicity.
Of course there is. I mean, the whole premise of the whole premise of what you and I do, and how many times do we have to talk about this? If you're looking for high theology, you're not going to get it here. You're not going to get high theology. If you're really interested in high theology, there's plenty of Catholic programming, plenty of Christian programming that you can find, the teachings of the fathers of the faith and explanations like that.
Check out Catholic Answers, Dr. David Anders. Check out those guys. Scott Hahn. Those guys are rock stars. Like I said, we're the garage band of.
Yeah, but I mean, in a very simple, and this is one of the reasons why I love Mother Teresa so much, is because a lot of people don't realize this, but she used to catch a lot of heat, even from the Catholic Church. There would be bishops and cardinals that would have the attitude of, Mother, what you're doing is nice, but it's really only putting Band-Aids on problems. And her whole entire ministry can be summed up in two words: love and poverty. She recognized that the deepest of poverty is a lack of love. That is the deepest level of poverty, is a lack of love. Those two words, love and poverty. She used to say all the time, you can satisfy material needs with material, but you cannot satisfy the poverty of a lack of love with anything other than loving another person. And it's really that simple.
Simplicity at
People
its
don't,
finest.
for example, people don't commit suicide because their car broke down, right? Because of a lack of material. People commit suicide because of hopelessness. In one way or another, it's a lack of love.
It depends on what you love. If you love those material things and suddenly it's taken away, like a stock market crash or something like that. But
then again, that's okay. But now what we're talking about, you're absolutely right. But now what we're talking about is a disordered understanding of love. And when you place all of your love into the material of the world, and that material of the world is now taken away from you, whether a stock market crash or natural disasters or what have you, that's a disordered love. I mean, Dave, don't get me started here. If we haven't talked about this before, we need to talk about this on a future show. I heard a quote. I can't remember who said it, but I'm going to just use it. I think it was Christopher West that talked about this. And Christopher West is really good when it comes to love and theology of the body. And I believe it was Christopher West, or maybe he copied it for somebody, but the quote goes like this: we tend to love things and use people, where in reality, what God is teaching us is to love people and use things. You can't say in one breath, I love my car, and in the same instance say, oh, yes, and I also love my wife and my children. See, we have a very disordered view on what love actually is. And this is a huge problem. This is what Mother Teresa speaks about so clearly in regards to people and in regards to who our neighbor is. And that's why I say her ministry was based on these two words, love and poverty. And the deepest level of poverty is a lack of love, not being loved. I remember there was a documentary about homelessness. Can't remember when it was, a long time ago. But there was a homeless person who watched on the street as a group of people were struggling to get a litter of puppies adopted. And this couple of people were going on and on about how we have these beautiful little puppy dogs. We need to find them a good home. And little by little, the litter of puppies were adopted. And then this homeless person says this: and now I watched everybody leave and nobody wanted to adopt me. Think about that.
That's why
The deepest
that's why
form.
we have such a high rate of abortion in this country.
Oh, well, that's a whole nother thing. Absolutely. There's a disordered understanding of what love is. So here's something from Mother Teresa. Don't be afraid to show love. There is so much love in us all, but we are often too shy to express our love, and we keep it bottled up inside us. We must learn to love until it hurts, and we will then know how to accept love. We must be a channel of peace. We must love until it hurts. We must be Christ. We must not be afraid to show our love. All of this is related to each other. If we're going to be neighborly, if we're going to have right relations with our neighbors, it all comes back to Mother Teresa's teaching, do it anyway. The only way that we're going to understand how to be loved is to not be afraid to love others. And again, I'm not talking about a disordered love. You know, the young people today, and I encountered this at the retreat that I was at for our confirmation kids. The young people today are inundated with disordered expressions of what love is. Absolutely. You know, they walk around with the cell phone that is bombarding them with disordered understandings of love. It was bad enough. It was bad enough when we were kids, Dave. We would hear about, girls back when we were in high school and middle school, girls that were feeling the pressure of not being pretty enough. And that was just from the community that we lived in. But nowadays, the kids are bombarded internationally with Instagram and Snapchat and all this other insanity, all the pressures of what love is. Oh, I've got all these friends. No, you don't. You have like one friend in your neighborhood. Everybody else is internet friends. You don't know them and they don't know you. We need to understand the difference between ordered love and disordered love. And the most perfect example of ordered love is Jesus. What he sacrificed, why he sacrificed, and the teachings and the church that he left behind to give us models to follow, to give us a path forward, to give us understanding as to how to live our life. It's not easy. It's not easy. All of us have people in our lives who we desperately want to love outwardly with them, expressing it to them, and yet we're confronted by behaviors where it's like, I'm beating my head against a wall. I get it. I get it. And like I said before, I'm not saying that we should place ourselves in a position or circumstances where we're going to be victimized. Nobody is saying that we should allow ourselves to be victimized. And you can love someone from a distance. You can love someone from a safe distance. You can pray for your neighbors. You can visit the sick. You can visit your neighbors. You can visit family members. You can pray for family members and understand that, you know what? Right now, it's best that I'm not in the room with that person.
Deacon,
because maybe they're not ready.
Deacon, we got about a minute left, and I want to ask you a question.
Yes.
When Jesus was standing there talking to Pilate, do you think when he said, I could call down legions of angels, do you think he was telling the heavenly hosts to stand down? I got this.
I mean, obviously we don't know for certain. I mean, it would be foolish for us to place ourselves in the mind of God. But my reflection on that, on the entire passion, my reflection on that, all of those questions were settled in the garden. All of those questions as to what's going to happen next, all of that was settled in the garden through his agony, especially around the scripture passages and the storyline where Jesus says, Father, if this cup could pass, but not my will, your will be done.
The reason I asked you that was because just the other day I saw somebody had produced a short little video talking about the angels and how they, during the whole passion, that they were ready to strike the earth and take us out. And so just kind of what you were saying kind of sparked that thought that was Jesus.
Well, certainly. I mean,
stand down.
Well, certainly we do have angels that are constantly battling on our behalf. We have guardian angels. And then there are other angels that are constantly at battle with evil forces all the time. And, what we learned from that moment in the garden with Jesus is not my will, but yours be done. We have to, every day, more closely align our life and our choices and our behavior to the will of the Father.
That's it, Deacon. We got to do that. Just do it anyway, right?
Just do it anyway.
Yeah.
So just do it anyway.
Don't forget to check us out on Facebook at Through the Fire, on YouTube at Through the Fire with Deacon Don Prendergast, and Rumble at Deacon Don. Always check us out at www.castingthe.net. And if you have a show idea, go to the Through the Fire tab, and you'll see a place for questions. So for Deacon Don Prendergast, I'm David Fortin. We'll see you next week.
The preceding program was a Spirit of Truth Radio Arts original program for CastingThe.net.